undefeated. A national championship is in the front of their minds.
What, if anything, has been a defining moment, do you think, for this team?
You know, if you talk about this team, I mean, it's everybody, players, coaches, everybody pulls the same direction and bleeds blue.
You didn't mention you in any of that.
Oh, well, I don't block or tackle anybody, Gene.
But this is your program in sort of the way that you wanted to build it.
My job, you know, if something goes wrong, something goes bad, then I'm a bad manager. Something goes good, then, you know, that's everybody else. I like that job of when it goes bad, it's my fault, because there's really there's no competition for that job. So I'm always going to have a job.
We are in the midst of watching a Michigan implosion.
Absolutely unacceptable for a Michigan team that was expected to compete for a national title.
Have you coached to prove people wrong these last 2 years?
No, it's been nothing but a happy mission. This has been, it's not a grim mission. It's not an angry mission. You know, our focus is on this game against TCU. It's going to be a big task, big challenge, and as we like to say, onward.
Well, this happy mission has been much happier the last 2 years. Look at this record, 25-2. They beat Ohio State finally. Now, they have lost 5 straight bowl games, something they'd like to turn around today. But they won a couple of Big Ten titles. Now they're in the playoff for the 2nd straight year. Now, Jim deflects, and I love the happy mission line. What's the biggest difference? What's changed?
I tell you what, you start with the athletic director, Ward Manuel. You have to keep in mind a few years ago when Michigan was struggling, especially during the pandemic season, everybody came at Harbaugh. They wanted him fired. We're talking about alumni, boosters, fans. No one wanted Harbaugh. But when you have a seasoned athletic director like Ward Manuel, he sees the big picture. He understands what's going on. He sat down man-to-man with Jim Harbaugh. Not only did they restructure the contract, but he also talked about his managing style, the skills that he brought as a head coach, that he needed to now relinquish some of those, hire better staff. He brought in Mike McDonald. He brought in Jesse Mentor when Mike McDonald left. He elevated Sharon Moore's OC, and he let them coach. So not only did he restructure the contract, but he changed his managing style, because that stuff trickles down. When there's a lot of tension and a lot of angst, it trickles down 100%. To the players. So once he relieved that, you see Jim, now he's a happier coach. They're having fun. He's enjoying himself. And then after games, David, what I like is that he doesn't want to do the interview.
Never.
Here, talk to JJ. Talk to JJ. Yeah, like that. So it's just a different Jim Harbaugh.
You know, it's a different Jim Harbaugh, but the cool thing is he did it his way. Like when you talk about, you know, football and spread and tempo and all the stuff that we talk about all the time. Is Jim Harbaugh doing that?
No, sir.
Or is he bringing it in tight and saying, I will hit you right in the throat? So I think it's interesting, because I don't know what changed. I really don't. I mean, it switched, and the players, you could tell, relate to him really, really well, and something changed big time over this, because it looked like for a while it was going to be fleeting and it was going to be an empty mission for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, but he got it together, and the physicality that he plays with, and the team plays with now, they look like Ohio State used to look like. They look like the bully on the block, which is pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, 100%. You look fantastic. It is great to see you. I blow dry my chest hair to make it sit out today. But you look amazing. And to your point about Jim Harbaugh changing and it being different and being old school and being like kind of an independent thought, he's not going to get bullied into anything. He took a pay cut a couple years ago. Yep. That's where he was at. And I think if I listen to the people that know best in the football world, the authority, Pete Thamel and ever, Michigan told him, you're either going to take a pay cut or we'll move on. Just like Stanford had done. Just like Sam Fran had done, to Reese Davis's point. So I think he's matured as well. And that's kind of tough to talk about because he's an adult who's accomplished so much. But I think he has matured through all of his situations of the past where it's like, hey, it doesn't have to end with me hating you, you hating me, us moving on and going and have success elsewhere. Right. Losing a college football playoff last year. This year, there's no distraction about him going to the NFL, him going anywhere else. It seems like everything is all aligned with this team making a run, and I think that's a great show of maturity. Not that I need to be the one pointing that out for anybody, but that's what I see out of Harbaugh, I think.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me, Des, is I see an identity.
Yeah.
You know, I just think to what David said, They haven't had an offensive line in a long time that can just control the game. And I know they're known for that, going back to the Bo days. But since Rich Rod was there all the way till about 3 years ago, when Sharon Moore was elevated to come in and take over that offensive line, they haven't had it. Remember when Shea Patterson came in from Ole Miss and Josh Gaddis came in, and it was like, oh, they're going to really show people that they can play out in space. Those days are gone. Now they are about beating people up, but they also have skill. They haven't had speed like they have now. They're recruiting better. They're developing. And you're right. They're having fun because they're winning, but they have an identity now.
You know what? They're an elite program. I think that's one of the things that Ohio State has had trouble with because they've dominated them for so long. They lost to a really good team.
Yep.
I mean, it happens from time to time.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.